Hey there, my night owls and book lovers. Welcome, dear listener, to another magical night with literature lullabies. I hope you're all doing well and winding down after a long day. If you're new here, welcome to Literature Lullabies, your go-to place for captivating bedtime stories from the greatest literary works of all time. Here we don't just read stories. We breathe life into them. We travel back in time, walk alongside legendary characters, and uncover the wisdom hidden in the pages of history. Tonight, I have something truly special for you, a tale of wit, power, and the ultimate battle of the sexes. Imagine a world where women decide enough is enough and take matters into their own hands. Sounds intriguing, right? Well, that's exactly what happens in Lysistrata, a sharp, hilarious, and surprisingly modern comedy from ancient Greece. So get comfy, grab a warm drink, and let's dive into a story where laughter and rebellion go hand in hand. Ready? Let's begin. The scene is set. We're traveling back in time, 2,400 years ago, to an Athens torn apart by war, but also a little bit of laughter. Once upon a time in ancient Greece, two mighty city-states, Athens and Sparta, were locked in a never-ending war. The Peloponnesian War had been raging for 2 decades. The battlefield was littered with warriors, but the real victims? The women left behind. Imagine a war so long and brutal that people have forgotten why it even started. The Peloponnesian War rages between Athens and Sparta, tearing families apart, bleeding cities dry, and leaving women longing for peace. But what if I told you that one woman, one fearless, brilliant woman, decided to end the war without ever picking up a weapon? Instead, she gathered the women of Greece and hatched an outrageous plan. They would refuse intimacy with their husbands until the men agreed to peace. This is the story of Lysistrata, an ancient Greek comedy that is as shocking as it is hilarious, written by Aristophanes over 2,000 years ago. Yet, its themes of power, resistance, gender, and war remain as relevant today as ever. Every day, we lose our fathers, husbands, and sons, they whisper. Will this war ever end? But amidst the sorrow, one woman rises, Lysistrata. She is clever, fearless, and tired of waiting. And so, she hatches a plan. If men refuse to listen to reason, let's make them listen to something else, their desires. What happens when an army of women weaponizes love, wit, and stubborn refusal? Stick around, because this story isn't just a comedy, it's a battle of the sexes that still echoes today. Welcome to Lysistrata, the women who stopped a war. Act 1, The Secret Gathering, a daring idea. The sun rises over Athens, but Lysistrata is already awake, pacing anxiously. Will the women come? She sent messages across Greece, calling every woman she can, Athenian, Spartan, Theban, to a secret meeting. Slowly, they arrive, chattering, yawning, complaining about their husbands, their chores, the early hour. One woman grumbles, "Why drag us out of bed, Lysistrata? We have laundry to do." But Lysistrata commands their attention. She stands tall and speaks with fiery determination. Our men have been fighting for years. The war takes our sons, our fathers, our husbands. We suffer just as much, yet we have no say in it. Today that changes. Her solution? A radical, outrageous idea, a sex strike. If the men won't listen to reason, The women will refuse all intimacy until they sign a peace treaty. The women gasp, protest, laugh in disbelief. One covers her face in embarrassment, another says, "I'd rather die." But Lysistrata is firm. They must unite. Sisters, enough is enough. This war has stolen our joy, our families, our lives. If men won't make peace, we will force them to. Finally, after much coaxing, they swear an oath, on a sacred cup of wine, because what's an ancient Greek promise without some wine? We swear, no intimacy, no touch, no pleasure, until the war is over. But can they really keep their vow? Act 2. Seizing the Acropolis. Women take control. The women are not done yet. They march to the Acropolis, the fortress that holds Athens' war funds, money used to keep the war going. Meanwhile, a group of elderly Athenian men, furious at the women's rebellion, march up the hill with torches, swearing to teach them a lesson. A group of elderly officials gather with torches and anger. How dare they meddle in politics? They are women, not warriors. Cue one of the most hilarious battles in Greek theater. The men threaten to burn down the Acropolis, but the women douse them with buckets of water. Splash! The women douse them with buckets of water. You wretched women! You'll pay for this. Oh hush! If you can't handle a little water, how will you handle war? The men try to force their way inside, but the women mock them, push them back, and scold them like naughty children. The women win. The Acropolis is theirs. The war chest is locked away. The men are left outside, soaking wet, fuming, and utterly humiliated. The war ends when we say it ends, declares Lysistrata. Act 3. The men's desperation. Hilarious chaos ensues. Time passes. The city changes. Tension rises. The men, once so confident, are now suffering. Everywhere, men are struggling to control themselves. Soldiers stumble around, awkwardly fidgeting. Husbands grow desperate, begging their wives. Husbands plead, "Darling, just come home." Men begin inventing ridiculous excuses to lure their wives home. "I think I left the oven on." "Our cat is sick." The women, however, are struggling too. Some are ready to give in. One woman, Myrene, is especially tested. Her husband, Synesius, arrives at the Acropolis, miserable, pleading, and desperate. He begs her to return home. He promises gifts. He even holds their crying baby as a bargaining tool. Myrene pretends to agree, but keeps delaying, teasing, stalling. Just when he thinks he's won, she leaves him frustrated and alone. Across Athens and Sparta, the men are at their breaking point. Act 4. The peace negotiations. Victory through wit. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, the leaders of Athens and Sparta agree to peace talks. But this is no ordinary negotiation, because the men are still physically suffering from the strike. Imagine the scene. Spartan and Athenian leaders sit across from each other. They try to act serious, but they are awkwardly shifting, sweating, and fidgeting. The Spartan delegate blurts out, "Let's just sign the treaty already." Lysistrata enters, now more powerful than ever. She scolds them for their stupidity and lectures them on unity. She reminds them that Greeks share the same land, the same customs, the same gods, so why are they killing each other? One by one, the men give in. The treaty is signed. The war is over. The men and women reunite joyfully, with a final song and dance celebrating peace. The women have won, not with weapons, but with wit, unity, and laughter. Critical appreciation. Why Lysistrata still matters. A bold feminist message. In a time when women had no political rights, Aristophanes imagined a world where they took control and won. This was revolutionary for its time and still sparks discussions on gender roles. War and stupidity. The Peloponnesian War had raged for 20 years, yet Aristophanes suggests it could end in a day, if men weren't so stubborn. Even today, we see wars where diplomacy is ignored in favor of endless fighting. Comedy as a weapon. Satire exposes absurd truths. The best way to show how ridiculous war is? Make people laugh at it. Lysistrata is outrageously funny, but underneath the laughter lies a serious political message. Aristophanes uses humor to criticize male leadership, war policies, and corruption, much like today's political satire in stand-up comedy and TV shows. The power of unity. Lysistrata is an early example of nonviolent protest. Throughout history, women have led movements, using strikes, marches, and resistance. Could Lysistrata's plan work today? Tell us in the comments. Which classic story should we cover next? If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like this video. Subscribe for more bedtime stories. Share with someone who loves classics. Tomorrow, another epic tale awaits.